Hey students, this is Mr. Roberts. As you can probably tell, I am not at school today. I am with the math counts. I'm doing a math competition. But this lesson is so very important that I made a video for you to watch so you know exactly how to find percents. So let's look at what you need to know for today. Okay, so with all story problems, these math problems involving percents, it can be kind of tricky, but because it's only because they can be worded in different ways. Getting it set up to solve them is pretty simple after you understand a couple things. So hopefully the couple of examples that I give you today will help you so you can get your Go formative assignment done. All right, so many word problems can be solved using the formula is over of equals percent over 100. So if we're looking at this right here, we have the is of equals percent over 100. This is a very, very important thing to remember. Another thing that I want you to remember is that is and of have other synonymous words. So part, it means is, and whole, just like a fraction, is the of. So if you can think which thing in this story problem is the part and which part is the whole, then you can usually figure those out from there. We can use this relationship to set up equations and solve for the variable. So yeah, this is an equation, so we are delving into the algebra a little bit, but it is, if you can multiply and you can divide, this is the way to go. Okay, so you can see we have a question that says, what is 50% of 60? Now, if you look at our slide here, we can see we have is over of equals percent over 100. Well, usually percent's pretty easy to see because it has that symbol. So we can just put 50 right here. Then it says what is, and then we already did the 50% of 60. So we have the of 60 would be here. That's the whole amount. And then what is? We don't know what the is. So when in math, when we don't know what something is, we just give it a variable. And in our case today, I'm just going to use the letter x. So we're going to put that x there because we don't know what it is yet. We are going to discover that in just a few minutes. So from here, I'm just going to move things up so we can kind of solve it below. We are going to solve for x. So again, we are going to use multiplication first. So we're going to go 60 times 50. Well, 6 times 5 is 30. And then we have a 0 here and a 0 here, so we're going to put those there. Equals, and whenever we have a number times a variable, we can't multiply them, so we just write them down. 100 times x. So that, when I put that variable right next to the number, it means 100 times x. So we have set up an equation here. Now, what is the opposite or inverse of multiplication? It's division. So we're going to divide by 100. Well, if I have 100 over 100, it just leaves me with 1x, or just x. And because I divided by 100 here, I'm going to divide by 100 here. And I also like to draw lines right here to kind of separate them. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to cross out some zeros. And I'm left with 30 over 1. So my x equals 30. So it doesn't matter which way that's written. It can be 30 equals x or x equals 30. It doesn't change the value when I do that. So the answer to my equation here, or the is 30. So 30 over 60 equals 50% of 100. And if you think about that, that makes sense. Because what is 50 over 100? It's 1/2. What is 30 over 60? It's 1/2. So if you simplify those, or you use cross products, you can go like this and get 300, and you can go like this and get 300. You know that you did this correctly because they're proportional. They're both the same. Okay, let's look at this next example. We're going to still always refer back to this is over of equals percent over 100. Our question says 3 is what percent of 10? Well, 3 is, so we know that the 3 goes here because is corresponds to 3. We don't have the percent. So we're going to call that percent, let me change my color here. We're going to call it X of 10. So we have the 10 here. Now from here, all we have to know how to do is just multiply and divide. So I'm going to take my numbers now and I'm going to go 3 times 100 is 300. 10 times X is 10X. Now to get, because that's multiply, we want to undo that multiplication. So we're going to divide by 100 or by 10. 10 over 10 is 1. 1x is x. So we get x. And then we are going to do the same thing. Divide by 10. Cross off that, we get 30. So on this case, the answer is 30 also. So let's test it out and see if it's right. 3 times 100 was 300. And 10 times 30 equals 300. So we know we're correct because they both equal the same when we do a cross product. All right, so again, we're going to do one more example where we are now finding the of. We found the is, we found a percentage. Now we're going to find this missing part. So we have is over of equals percent over 100. 10 is 20% of what? Well, we know the percentage is 20, so it's already there. 10 is, well, where would that go? 10 is, so we're going to put 10 here. Of what? We don't know what this is, so we'll use x again and call it x. Now we are going to go and use cross products here. So we're going to go 10 times 100. Well, that's a 10 with 2 zeros, so it's 1,000. And then we have 20 times x, which is 20x. Now we're going to undo that multiplication right here by dividing by 20. And that gives us 1x, or just x. Divide this by 20. Well, cross off a 0, and 10, or 100 divided by 2 is 50. So let's see if that works. If I plug 50 in here, what is 50 times 20? Well, that's 1,000. And what is 10 times 100? Well, that's 1,000 too. So we know that this is correct. All right, students, so that is how you do these percentage problems that you're going to see in your Go Formative today. It is the most important part of today is to remember is over of equals percent over 100. And also to remember the is means part and the of means whole. So if you can remember those things, you should have no problem if you're comfortable using this little formula to find the answer to any one of these could be missing. The percent could be missing, the of could be missing, or the is could be missing, but you use the same tool to find any of those. So good luck. I will be watching the Go Formative today to make sure that you are working on it. Do your best, and if you have questions, you can always put them into Go Formative, and I will try to get back with you, or you can leave it until the next day. So wait till Wednesday, and we will have a few minutes to go over any of the questions that you have. Good luck, guys.